it was just about 2 weeks ago, a number of students have been terminated, and the reason being is that their performance was well below the required 3.0 and above. We had a number of students who got 0.0, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, those kinds of grades. And one has to also take into consideration that the government is spending in the United States over $40,000 a year.
Honorable Mills said a number of scholarships were terminated, and the majority of that number of students attended universities in the U.S. state of Florida. The recently amended scholarship policy specifies that if a student falls below a 3.0 GPA, they are subjected to a warning letter, and if that student fails to improve to that requirement in the next semester, he or she would face termination. According to Honorable Mills, students were issued warning letters before being slapped with scholarship termination, but their academic performances showed no improvement.
There are some schools that we have an arrangement with in the United States, and I must also say too, the United States has what is called a privacy policy, whereby they only give, certain schools would only give the student who is registered there their grades. So those institutions, those students would have to get their grades and send it to us. We don't continue with the allowance or the tuition fees until the student or students have submitted their grades.
As students return home with an unfinished degree, the ministry is still unsure of exactly how much money was spent by the government on these scholarships. Honorable Mills said the ministry is currently calculating the deficit, which is done every financial year. However, those students must and will reimburse the government as outlined in the scholarship policy.
There are the occasional student too, and I would like for you to mention this, who fails to return home. Not that we have a problem with it. We are also getting the AG's chambers to put legislation in place to ensure that at the end of their study or studies, the students have to return home, or else the persons who sign their bonds will be held accountable.
So what happens now to these students who are returning home with an unfinished degree? Honorable Mills encourages parents and students to liaise with the Labor Department and register in order for the government to assist students with finding employment. Honorable Mills also noted that the scholarship program is once again in operation. However, the ministry will now only be issuing scholarships to schools in the Caribbean and in the United Kingdom. For WIV4 News, I'm Nikira John.